I'd like to welcome everybody back to Alabama Care. And today we are at the Lakeshore Foundation with Mr. Bob Lujano. And as you guys can probably see behind us, there is an event going on, a wheelchair basketball event. But today we're going to be talking about athletics and the overview of NCHPAD. At this point, Mr. Lujano, if you would introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Bob Lujano. I'm an inclusion specialist for the National Center on Health, Physical Activity, and Disability, also known as NCHPAD, which is located here at the Lakeshore Foundation, an official Olympic and Paralympic training site. It's also located in Birmingham, Alabama. And I'm also a former Paralympic athlete in the sport of wheelchair rugby, 2004 bronze medalist at the Athens, Greece Paralympic Games. So very much I've had an experience of being a Paralympian, and they always say once a Paralympian, always a Paralympian. So I probably shouldn't use the title former Paralympian, because you have to represent on and off the court.
And you guys can't see it, but all these banners that hang in here in the field house, a lot of them are because of Mr. Bob Lujano and his team in wheelchair rugby. So you guys, I thought it would be cool today. This is something new, but I don't have much experience with a wheelchair. And so Mr. Lujano has agreed to introduce me to a sport wheelchair. And if you guys can't tell right now, I am actually sitting in one. And so what we're going to do is Mr. Lujano is just going to introduce, the best maneuvering tactics and kind of a background about wheelchair rugby. And we're going to do a little bit of passing. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the open space there, and we'll take you guys with us on our other camera. And these things are sturdy.
You should go this way.
Okay. Or we'll go over there and do the maneuvering, then we'll do the.
Okay.
I feel like this would be such a shoulder workout.
That is.
Like my shoulders we just have huge shoulders.
And the chairs are 40 pounds too.
Each chair is about 40?
Yeah. Some are more than others.
That's a lot there. All right, so are we in frame? So give me a little overview about what kind of is the difference between a sport chair and a different chair.
Well, an everyday chair is not seated this way. First of all, it's not very heavy, what we call a manual chair. Mm-hmm. The rugby chair weighs about 40 pounds and has aluminum metal. And sometimes it's not really built to be comfortable to sit in for a long time, because the objective is to be able to dish out hits as well as be able to take them. So you really want to have a good center of balance. You also want your chair to be tight as possible. Mm-hmm. So when you think about moving, it's going to move. So it's almost like wearing tennis shoes when you run.
Yeah. You
don't want them too big or you fall out.
It's like
an
extension.
Exactly.
You want it to be a part of you.
Exactly.
And how it moves. And you guys, if you can see, Clifton, if you can zoom in a little bit, I am wearing a belt here to kind of strap me in, and I feel very secure in this.
Yeah, that's called a ratchet strap. You can hit those buckles and it makes it even tighter.
Hit these?
No, the other one. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it tightens it up.
Yeah.
So again, you really want to be as tight as you can into the chair.
Well, I mean, if you're taking a collision head on, I would feel a little bit nervous that I might come forward, and this will really kind of center my gravity there. Now, we're going to wait for that bell to go off. If you guys can see the front of Mr. Lujano's chair, Clifton, can you see the bottom of that?
Yeah.
This, I was just saying, reminds me of Mad Max in the series movie there, about when you'll see the extensions on some of the cars there. So to see that coming at me on the court, I think I would want to go the other way.
Yeah, well, this is called a pick bar. And when we have wheelchair rugby, there's 4 people that play at one time. And there's different types of classifications. The athletes that use your chair have very good hand function and are able to catch and throw the ball. Mm-hmm. So you typically want a player like this using this chair that's able to handle the ball. Mm-hmm. My pick bar is usually designated for people that are athletes that are what we call low pointers. So anyone from a class 1.5 all the way to a 0.5 or even a class 0 typically have a pick bar. And the objective is to get either in front of the chair or even by the wheel here to prevent the ball handler from going forward.
Yeah, and I'm going to try and move a little bit, and that's a Yeah, like that's a lot of effort to try and get out of that hold.
Exactly.
And it reminds me of a hold like in wrestling. I used to wrestle. It reminds me of a good hold on somebody in wrestling, and how you can maneuver that there.
But the important part of the pick bar is to act as that person that comes and double teams the ball handler, so the ball handler has to throw the ball to another teammate.
Yeah.
It also can pick for the ball handler. The person that has the ball, I want to pick their other team's best player, so my guy with the ball can score. So
kind of blocking him out there, opening
exactly.
up the lane.
So act like a guard in football, as well as just being able to defend as well. So the very good teams know how to use their low pointers, and as a team, when you have your low pointers involved, you're able to be very successful.
Now, are there other adjustments to a chair that are other than a pick ball for low pointers?
Well, you typically want your low pointer to have the pick bar, because they're typically not as fast as a person that doesn't have the pick bar. Mm-hmm. By the way, these are called wings on your chair.
These here?
Yeah, those are called wings. So an athlete that has a chair with wings on it, you very much want that person to have the ball, to be free from anyone stopping them.
He's kind of like the floater.
Yeah, well, he's kind of like your main ball handler and your main player. He's your LeBron James. He's your Michael Jordan.
I did notice on this year's Paralympic rugby team for, I think it was America, there was one guy that was primarily holding the ball, and I was just like, he must be the all-star.
Right. I mean, typically you want the players that have the wings to be your best ball handlers and distributor of the ball, and you typically don't want to pass the ball. If you have low pointers that are very good at stopping the other players, then it makes it easier for your your high pointer to be able to score.
I love that there's positions. That reminds me of like football, where you have blockers and you have people out on the run for the catch. So it is very positional.
There's a strategy behind it too. It's not just throw the ball and hope you can score. It's very much I know who I have to go and pick in order to get my ball handler free, and also there's usually going to be another player on the team that has a wing chair, and we want to get him available or get that athlete open as well, so they can score and handle the ball.
Now, how about overall basic mechanics for somebody that's unfamiliar? Maybe they've never been in a wheelchair before. Maybe they've used like an electric one, and they're wanting to get into the sport. What would you say are the best practices for like conservation of energy and efficiency in a wheelchair?
Well, as always, you want to get a chair that's measured specifically to you. My chair is specifically measured to me. As you can tell, I don't have a foot plate because I don't need it. And so that makes it actually lighter.
Yeah.
Also, it's very centered and low to the ground. I don't have much reach. So as low to the ground as I can be, the easier it'll be for me to pick up the ball from the floor, as well as just to be able to push my chair.
So your chair actually sits a little bit lower than mine then?
It's probably the same.
Yeah.
The only difference is that I have the pick bar, and it's probably also mine is lighter than your chair, because I don't have a foot plate and I don't have the wings. Yes, the pick bar is probably a little bit heavier, but at the end of the day, both chairs probably weigh roughly between 40 and 45 pounds.
Has anyone ever gotten in trouble for over modifying their chair?
Yeah, there was a time when the sport was new, that people actually used their everyday chair to play rugby. And then when I broke into the sport in '95, that was kind of the year when players started to have different types of chairs similar to what you see now. But yeah, they had to come up with specifications, because some athletes would have wings that were so high that I couldn't get my pick bar in it.
Yeah.
So they finally made it to specific parameters. And there's some athletes that have their pick bar so high that it's kind of illegal as well. So there's specific dimensions and specifications that an athlete has to have their chair.
Do they? Do you have to get them? So let's say you're going into the Olympics, you're competing. Do they measure those specifications like before the event?
And typically, the manufacturer of the wheelchairs, the rugby chairs, know what those specifications are.
Yeah.
So they have created a chair.
I imagine that's kind of like NASCAR, where you can get disqualified.
Yeah. Sometimes you'll be playing all weekend, and maybe you've got hit many times, and your wing has changed because it's been hit so many times. Well, they'll ask you to file it out, or do things to make it to where it's smooth and not something that would be dangerous.
I'd like to go around a few times and you tell me what I'm doing wrong in my maneuvering. Just
Okay.
basic things.
Yep.
So I'll just kind of, I feel like it's a really tight turn when you use both arms.
Right. And the thing with turning is sometimes your trunk is just as much to play in it. I know it is for me.
Yeah, I'm not really
I
engaging
can literally
my core.
turn my chair without touching my wheels. So that very much helps me. Now, many of the athletes that play are spinal cord injury, and many of them don't have trunk control. So for them, it might just be leaning to one side or the other that will make the chair turn.
Do you ever get up on one chair? Or one wheel, I mean?
Some athletes are good enough to do that. I can do it, but it's kind of scary sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, that would be like trying to cut a really tight corner or something.
Yeah, again, you gotta have real good chair control, real good balance, because one thing that can't happen, if I was to have the ball and touch the floor, it'd be the other team's ball.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and if a player is leaning over and you hit them and they fall into your lap to where they're making contact with you, then it's a foul on them.
So that you can ram into somebody on purpose, wanting them to get to fall into you.
Exactly.
It's a foul on them.
Exactly.
That's a little tricky.
Oh yeah, it's a, no pun intended, but it's a turnover. If you can knock the player into your lap and they fall into your lap, and that means that either they have to go to the penalty box or get possession of the ball.
Yeah.
And maybe they had possession of the ball, so now it's a turnover in your favor.
I would like to do a little exercise. Maybe we start down there and we
Sure.
come down this way and we pass the ball back and forth.
Sure.
And then I want to do another one where it's like I'm trying to cross the line to get a goal, and I feel like I'm going to regret this, but I want you to like ram me and stop me.
Okay.
I feel like I'm going to regret that. So we'll go back a little bit and give us some space here. Now, do you normally, if you're going back, will you normally just go like this, or will you turn?
No, it's be able to push backwards is important too.
Yeah.
Because the objective is to move your chair. Sometimes you only have that point where you can back up and stop a person.
Yeah.
So backing up is important. One thing that can't happen is you can't hit a player behind the axle. If you hit a player behind the axle,
Okay.
it could spin them or even knock them backwards.
So anywhere behind this
Behind the
point.
axle, exactly. Or even hitting them completely in the back to where they fall backwards.
Yeah.
That would be a penalty on you.
I watched the finals and the semifinals of the Paralympic rugby, or wheelchair rugby, and I was surprised that they don't wear helmets.
Yeah, it's something that's been talked about before. We do have a concussion policy and protocol we have to adhere to. But, at the end of the day, it's just, I don't know if it's just being macho, but at the end of the day, most athletes don't want to wear a helmet. And, in my 25 years of playing, I've seen very few issues where a person has hit their head.
Yeah.
So it's not that it can happen, but it's something that's not prominent throughout the league. If it was a prominent or prevalent issue, then I'm sure we would look to go in that direction.
It reminds me of the grueling ages of hockey before they started wearing masks.
Masks, oh yeah.
And you see the goalies and
Toothless and eye patches and
They look like they just got home from war after the game. All right, so let's do a little bit of passing here. I like that quick turn.
Just start from there and just pass to me.
Yep.
Just start.
Oh, that's awkward for me. And to catch that and then to move. Now, do you ever do bounce passes?
Yes, we do.
Why would you do a bounce pass over a regular pass?
Depends on how close you are.
But it's not a rule.
No, it's not a rule. I mean, what you want to do is just find out what is the best pass for a teammate to catch. Some athletes are good at catching bounce passes better than others.
I'm gonna go on the run and catch it on the fly.
Okay.
So hit me like at that circle.
I'm gonna lead you to it. Go.
Oh, what a pass! What a pass! Oh, you know what else is really cool that I didn't think about just right there is you have momentum.
Yeah.
So normally when I think about, like I play hockey, you have a little bit of momentum that you can glide.
Yeah.
On these wheels, I feel like you have a lot of momentum. So
yeah.
you can get a lot of push if you start off quick.
Exactly.
It can go for a long way.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, just like any other sport, the bigger the athlete, the faster, the more physical, they're going to dominate the sport.
And I'm sure like a lot of the workout in the weight room is on like shoulders and tries now that I'm feeling it a little bit, pushing down.
Yes.
A lot of dips.
And that's actually how you want to push your chair. You want to, like, imagine your wheel is like a clock, this being 12 o'clock. So you really kind of want to start like right around here, which I guess would be
Like
1 o'clock. Because you don't want to disrupt the momentum of the wheel. If you're pushing up here, every time the wheel goes around, you're kind of stopping it.
Yeah, it's true.
If you push down here, you're not interfering in the momentum of the wheel.
That's a lot longer contact with the wheel than I thought. I was thinking between 12 and 3, but you're saying most of your, because you're kind of pulling at the after 3 there.
What you really want to do is actually just hit this part of the wheel, and actually not even the wheel.
Like
yeah,
that.
more like the wheel guard. Yeah,
Yeah.
The lower.
That's really far forward leaning.
Yeah.
And then when you stop, you come up here.
Yes, or whatever makes you stop, up here, down here.
Yeah, but not on the. I wouldn't want to stop on the wheel guard.
Well, some athletes, remember, most of the athletes have spinal cord injury, so a lot of them have paralysis in their fingers.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of their hands are balled up to begin with. So you would wear a glove, and some of them just touch the side guard to stop.
Yeah, I really like the. I'm gonna go as fast as I can and then try and turn.
Okay.
I just want to see how that feels. I don't know why, but it's hard for me to move both my arms at the same time. I kind of go like this.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Whatever gets you going.
Oh yeah. That's pretty cool. Yeah, you can fly on these things. All right, so we'll do, I don't see anybody coming down the track. So we'll do it like I'm coming this way and the track is the goal line.
Okay.
And you ram me and don't let me get in there.
Sounds good.
Ah, jeez. Ah, jeez. All right, here it comes. No! Yeah, I don't know how you guys don't wear helmets with that, man.
Like I said, it's not been really an issue, knock on wood.
And that was only like 10 feet. You're coming
Yeah.
down the length of the court.
Oh yeah, some people are flying down the court. You
Yeah.
gotta hit them, and they're size of a house.
Ah, jeez.
So,
All right, so you guys kind of got a little bit of the maneuvering there and tossing the ball back and forth. And what we're going to do now is we're going to play a video, a YouTube video, and kind of comment on it so you guys can see exactly what competition looks like and kind of the play style in the game. So we'll go ahead and make our way over to Clifton. Yeah, see how I'm doing that? I want to go like this.
that's fine. Some athletes, that's a way of using your trunk into your push.
Yeah.
And
It's kind of like swimming in that way. Where swimming, you want to go back and forth as well.
yes, exactly.
Yep, pull it down for us a little bit, and then we'll pull up the video.
You want me to set it up or cue it up?
We should have it there.
I mean, as far as where we're at, this is the.
Oh, yeah.
This is from the Tokyo Paralympics. USA playing Australia. If they win this game, they will go to the gold medal. Same with Australia. Australia has been a rival of USA. In 2016, we battled them for the gold medal and lost in overtime. But this year was a very outstanding year for Team USA. We very much had an outstanding unit. Of course, there's our team leader and captain, Chuck Aoki, just an outstanding athlete, probably the face of USA Rugby.
Now, a little bit of background. Australia and USA did not like each other after the last Paralympics.
Yeah, we're rivals, as far as, we're standing in each other's way for the last 2 years to winning gold, the last couple Paralympics. And sometimes you have to play one of these teams in the crossover to get to the gold medal. And this year we did it with them, so it was important. And there's Riley Bat from Australia, who's considered the best player in the world.
Yeah, that's the guy. I thought he was on USA for when I watched it, but when we were talking about it. But he's the guy that I was like, man, he has a lot of ball control, a lot of time with the ball.
Oh yeah, he's a guy that you don't want him to not have the ball. You want him to hand the ball, to throw the ball.
And he was in everyone's face. I was like,
he's the best all around as far as handling the ball, defending. He's got good height and reach as well, but he's definitely, you got to be aware of him every time on the court.
He made me think he was a bully.
Well, when I played against him in 2004, he was only, I think, 15 or 16.
He's been doing it for a while.
Yes, he has.
And for anybody that didn't get a chance to watch it or the updates, USA took home silver, and Australia did not place. They got fourth.
Correct, and this was the first time, they were defending back-to-back gold medal Paralympic champions, Australia, so it was definitely a surprise that they weren't in the gold medal game, but again, the winner of this game was going to be in the gold medal game, so we were fortunate to have it together and as a team, play well.
The other coach here you mentioned for Japan, didn't he practice out of Lakeshore?
Yes, Coach Kevin Orr, he is I believe he's currently the coach of the Japanese team. He was here in Tokyo with the Japanese team, which they took third. They actually beat Australia. Kevin's from Pelham, Alabama, and also is a Paralympian.
Yeah, very cool. Well, I mean, just watch it after what you blocked me and seeing these guys crash into each other. I'm surprised you don't have more bruising. Or you can see that they're, the gloves there, they do look a little thick.
Oh yeah.
Padding.
Yes, and again, sometimes one of the things I didn't show you is that you have access to that ball as a defender. If I put my hand on the ball, they might call a jump ball, and so a lot of times you can get hit in your hand, which is why another reason why a lot of the athletes wear gloves.
Yeah.
But also just to help them with push, I guess some protection as well. But yeah, at the end of the day, yes, it's something that will definitely help the rugby player to have protection on their hands.
We're gonna, well, hopefully we'll broadcast some live sporting events and do some commentating in January, February. It sounds like we'll go back to the table and we'll talk a little bit more about NCHPAD.
Thank you.
I tell you, I'm getting hung up on everything. I'm hitting everything here. You want that side or this side?
Oh, I'll go over here.
Okay, I'm going to pull up the broadcast on my phone here. Just 1 second. Sometimes it just doesn't load. All right, there we go. We'll turn the volume down. So we learned a little bit about, wheelchair rugby there, and wheelchair rugby in the Paralympics. And I'd like to take it from perspective of somebody that's looking to get involved and compete. But what would the cost of a chair like this run somebody?
Yeah, for wheelchair rugby, it can vary, but it's approximately between the 5,000 and 7,000 range. Again, it can vary. Fortunately, there are national organizations that provide funding, grants, CAF, Challenge Athletes Foundation. There's also one out of Florida. But yeah, there's definitely opportunities to help an athlete that wants to purchase any sports equipment to be involved in sports.
Now, this one that I'm using right now, could someone that wants to get involved, could they use this for like a month or 6, like loan it out from Lakeshore?
Yes, well, the athletes that come here that first try out the sport of rugby, yes, many of them will use a chair that Lakeshore has bought. And, at the end of the day, it's just to try out the chair, to try out the sport. And once you feel that you're committed to wanting to play, you then typically will purchase a chair or go to one of these organizations. Kelly Bush is the other organization, spinal cord injury, that provides funding for an athlete that wants any type of sports equipment. So, at the end of the day, it's just to try it out, see if you like the sport, and then you make that investment, and that shows that you're really committed once you put down that type of money.
Yeah. It reminds me about hockey equipment. I got into hockey a couple years ago, and if you go full out, it's like $500 to $800 with all your skates and all the pads and the helmet. And I signed up. I'd never played hockey before, but I went to a local rink, and they gave me like a starter pack. Are we in your way, sir?
No.
Right on. Would you like to join us a little bit?
What is it? Wheelchair Willie?
I'm sorry. What was that?
What is it? Wheelchair Willie?
Yeah,
We're talking about wheelchair rugby and getting involved.
This is Josiah. He was on our Division III championship team for wheelchair basketball. So
Okay.
say hi to the people, Josiah.
Yeah. Well, say hi to the camera.
How y'all doing?
What would you like to say about wheelchair basketball? I'll move down a little bit. Come join us.
I have no idea yet.
What now?
I have no idea.
Would you like to join us?
No, I just can't really see.
Oh, okay, I got you. You should check out behind the computer. It looks pretty cool. What Clifton's doing. And I remember I went to a local rink, and I wasn't willing to make that investment. It was a lot of money.
Yeah.
And they gave me like a starter pack for a month that was like all the equipment, new skates. And then after that, if you basically wanted to keep going on, you could either buy it, or what I did, I just reimbursed them for all the equipment they gave me.
Very good.
And I'm still playing hockey 8 years later. And it was because of that first one that they were willing to give me, help me out and get started.
Exactly.
And I feel like Lakeshore is that for a lot of individuals.
Yes, it is. For locally here in Birmingham, no doubt this is the place to go. There's other organizations around the nation. Let's see, out in Arizona, there's Ability 360. There's Bridge to Sport out in Carolina. There's DASA out in St. Louis.
Are these direct competitors when you guys play basketball?
I wouldn't call it competitors. It's just more of, again, providing services for people with disabilities. There's people with disabilities here in Birmingham. They're all over the nation as well. So there are national organizations that very much have the same philosophy of providing the equipment, providing the programming, the opportunity, the facility. So at the end of the day, I have no problem giving those resources to people that are looking for activity in those areas. So.
Yeah, and you notice that it usually pays dividends. Like I made great friends with the rink. I joined. I was spending a couple $100 there a month to play hockey. And become a member. So it just builds that community. Now I kind of want to talk a little bit. What would you say is the difference between Lakeshore and NCHPAD? Why two different organizations?
Well, Lakeshore, their mission is to provide programming for people with physical disabilities and chronic health conditions, and that's what the mandate is with the 501c3. So to be more inclusive, we wanted to provide opportunities for people that may have intellectual disability and sensory disability. So that's kind of where NCHPAD comes into play, where we provide resources to do exercises, provide resources where you could, for nutrition and wellness and health. So it's really covering the entire spectrum of disability, and it's all headquartered here at Lakeshore Foundation.
Kind of broadening that reach.
Exactly.
Of what Lakeshore is able to do through NCHPAD.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then, how many individuals would you say with athletics are involved here at Lakeshore? I mean, we've got probably 50 to 60 individuals behind us. This is just on a Thursday.
Yeah, our membership, and forgive me if I don't know the exact numbers.
My mic? Test. Oh, it dropped. Yeah, sorry about that.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah, I know. Wasn't paying attention. But the number of individuals.
Yeah, our memberships, I believe we have over 2,000. As far as exactly how many members, probably over 4,000. Please don't quote me on the number. But like an example of this camp, these are actually athletes from around the nation that are here.
Okay.
Being an official Olympic and Paralympic training site, we will get athletes from outside Alabama to come and train, to come hold the camp. And the objective again is just to provide that opportunity for sports development, so our programs can compete at the Paralympic level.
Yeah.
So that's what this program here is out back behind us.
Now, how many programs are available? And I want to talk not necessarily about like getting in the pool and exercising on my own, but I want to talk about competitive programs. How many teams are available? And then upcoming programs?
Well, here specifically at Lakeshore or just nationwide?
Specifically at Lakeshore.
Yeah, at Lakeshore, let's see, we have about 5 to 6 athletic competitive teams, ranging from basketball, and then we have 3 different types of basketball. We have an adult level, a junior level, and a prep level. And those activities are co-ed, those sports programs are co-ed.
Yep.
Wheelchair rugby's co-ed, I believe power soccer is, swimming, basically all our competitive sport are co-ed. We do also, though, with wheelchair basketball, have a specific women's team as well.
Okay.
So, at the end of the day, our sports are competitive, they're co-ed, and they're very much in just promoting, the highest level of competitiveness. So, there's also a junior national team, a junior team where we compete at junior nationals. And junior nationals host different states throughout the year. Every year it's a different city, a different state. But the Junior Nationals offers swimming, archery, track and field. So there's 3 or 4 different types of sport that a junior can get involved in.
Yeah. And when you say junior, what age is that?
I believe ages 10 to you finish high school.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if it's under 10. I'm thinking that it's over 10. Forgive me if I don't know the exact age, but it's something to where usually a youth with a disability gets their first exposure of a competitive team or competitive competition on a very large scale event, on a national event.
I think that's so important to get that competition, to experience that. I think physical activity is really necessary, but to be able to be on a team and learn how to build with them, win, lose with them. There's so many life lessons in these competitive sports.
You hit it on the head, and probably the most important that may not get talked about is really the independent daily life skills, because this may be a time that you're away from your parent for the first time.
Yeah. And
how are you going to deal with bathroom issues and things of that nature? So usually other athletes, even with team sports like rugby and basketball, a young athlete or a new athlete will get that first experience of what it's like to spend the night in a hotel away from home and things of that nature. So
I remember going to my first wrestling camp, and it was just me and my buddy from my team, and we went to Lake Erie, and wow. I think I was in 10th grade, and we were staying at a dorm, and I was like, this is what college life is like.
You hit it on the head.
And then also being with your peers, seeing what they're able to do, and not just talking with your parents.
Our peers, no doubt, are a great influence and can be an outstanding mentor. Again, as I said, a new athlete will come to basketball or rugby, and it's there, that opportunity to this is how we pick things up off the floor, and this is how we transfer into our sports chair. And so it's just simple things like that can help an athlete grow in becoming a competitive athlete and enjoying everything that it has to offer. So.
Now, I would is there going to be an in-person competition? I feel like we would try and get 10 people to come. We'd want to broadcast it, but we'd want to cheer on.
Sure. I know at the beginning of the new year, it's usually in January, so in January 2022, here at Lakeshore, be on the lookout for the Pioneer Classic, which is our wheelchair basketball tournament, and it's a big one because we have Division 1, 2, and 3, and we usually have women's teams and junior teams and even the prep teams. So it's, in years past, it's been big. And then at the end of January, we typically have the Demolition Derby, which is the wheelchair rugby tournament. So those are 2 events that typically happen throughout the year. So, and of course, anyone locally can come to our come to our event. Over the years, I know COVID has changed some things, so I don't want to invite the entire state and
southeastern United States. Now, are you competing in either of those events?
I'm not sure. I've somewhat have stepped away from rugby after 25 years, so I'm not 100% sure if I'm playing in that tournament, but I'll definitely be around. So we'll see.
What about the basketball?
I did basketball this past spring. One of the sports we opened back up during COVID was wheelchair basketball, with some restrictions and wearing masks and things of that nature. And it was only 3 months that we played, but the national championship tournament was in Wichita, Kansas, and our Division III team won the Division III championship, which was my first wheelchair basketball championship.
Mr. Lujano has just got like a wall of trophies and medals at his house. One's a lot bigger than most people will ever see at the international stage. So.
Yeah, it's just, it just goes to show what happens when an athlete have those opportunities, to be able to not only recreationally, but, competitively. These are things that could run throughout your entire life. I'm 52 years old and never thought I'd be involved in a wheelchair basketball championship. So very fortunate for that opportunity.
I think it's cool that you switched sports too. Like I wrestled forever and then did like a couple other events and then started the hockey, and now I'm with hockey for a little bit. But you did rugby for a number of years and kind of got into basketball. So I think it's awesome that
it started off with wheelchair basketball. That was the first wheelchair sport that I got involved in, and it is for a lot of young people. Actually, I was 20 years old when I was introduced to wheelchair basketball at the University of Texas at Arlington, and actually wasn't on the wheelchair basketball team, but I got to practice with the athletes and socialize with them and hang out with them, and many of them I still know today. But at the end of the day, it was my first introduction, and that was over almost 30 years ago. So that's where you kind of develop those wheelchair skills and being able to turn. Just thinking about turning, you'll turn to the left, and so that's where you first learn how to use your wheelchair and develop that skill, and then that can carry you on to other sports like wheelchair rugby, and one of the sports I do now that's offered nationwide is wheelchair football. I've been playing that for the last 3 months.
Which one is that harder than rugby, or you think it's?
Some of the hits are just as violent, maybe even more so. We went to a tournament in Phoenix back in September, and some very violent hits in wheelchair football, which is interesting because it's sponsored by United Move and the National Football League.
Okay.
The National Football League has put together 4 teams last year and 4 teams this year, and then we got asked to be one of the teams as well. So there's 9 teams that play wheelchair football, and at the end of October we will go to Kansas City to play in the last tournament. So we'll see who comes out on top.
You know what I just thought of? They are starting to do like the Winter Classics in hockey, where they'll set up an outdoor rink, and there's in a stadium, and it's huge. It would be so cool if they set up like a court inside an NFL stadium and did like an event before or after an NFL game.
Yeah, well, we're actually doing our event at Arrowhead Stadium at the end of October. That's where the last tournament will be for wheelchair football. So, and from my understanding, that it's been mandated that all the NFL teams come up with a wheelchair football team. So hopefully in the line down the road, we'll have more wheelchair football teams throughout the league.
Because I feel like the most popular, well, you said most people get their start in basketball.
Right.
But if the NFL is really pushing and mandating to have each organization have their own team, then that sounds like that's going to kind of jumpstart a whole league, and people are really going to be drawn to that.
Oh yeah, well, football's everyone's kind of passion. I know it's mine. A huge Dallas Cowboy fan.
What? I'm an Eagles. I grew up in Philly. Oh man, same division.
Is this interview over now?
Cut. You guys are whooping us this year. You guys are at the top. I think we're bottom or second to bottom.
You guys have a young player, young coach, young team. You'll be back.
You guys have all-stars on your team. I was listening to something on the budget. How many like top picks you guys have gotten in the past few years in drafts, and it's an amazing team you guys have.
Yeah, I mean, the important thing is that you hit on those picks. So, but at the end of the day, to your point, football could actually, again, it's wheelchair skills. So if you learn them through football, through rugby, through basketball, the objective is to develop wheelchair skills to be able to participate in the sport.
You notice a lot of people compete in multiple sports throughout the year?
Yeah, well, I know a lot of the national programs, the ones I've mentioned, they will start with youth, and the objective there is to teach all youth all the different types of sports, and not only sports, but things like hand cycling. And about a couple of weeks ago, or last month, I went on an adapted mountain bike through Red Mountain that we have over here. So,
dude, tell me about that.
It was great. I'd never done it before. And there was 2 types of bikes. There was one that was manual, which I had to push.
That sounds like a lot of work.
It was a lot of work. It was a good workout for that day. There's some that are also electronically propelled, so that one was kind of like riding a motorcycle. So I very much enjoyed it. And there's so many parks around here, mountains around here for that. So again, there's an organization called Catalyst, which national organization that very much helps in providing adaptive mountain biking as well as climbing. So, but yeah, there's a lot of national organizations that provide these services. I'm trying to think of so many of them.
Well, you're quite active and kind of a little bit of a thrill seeker, I think, with all these different sports. Have you ever gotten out of a plane, like parachuting?
Oh, the skydiving? It was something that I thought about, and then I got married, and so someone told me the two are kind of the same. So I guess I am skydiving already, but so it's something maybe I'll circle back to. But right now I'm very much involved in sports, and again, at the end of the day, it's about introducing all the sport. Continue doing all of them, or maybe one of them, but the objective is to be active. And sports can be seasonal. Not football will end here at the end of this month. Rugby will start up. The basketball's going on as well. So, swimming I'll start to get into because it's real good exercise and easier on the joints. Sports. So yeah, it's just it's about being active, and you don't have to necessarily go to a competition, but as long as you're doing something just to stay active, keep yourself healthy, sound body, sound mind, and leading a healthy, active lifestyle. Exactly.
I've always noticed when I was in season, you would think that I had less time and that some other things would go downhill because I was paying too much attention. But whenever I was in season, my grades went up.
Yeah.
Whenever I was being active and working out and competing, everything else in life was also doing pretty well at that point.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I share, and I even wrote about this, and I wrote a book called No Arms, No Legs, No Problem. And there's a chapter where I dedicate to how physical education was for me when I first got in, when I went back to school. And with public school, it was very much, at times, PE was sometimes an exclusionary experience. It was an exclusionary experience. And I didn't do very well in school. And I really think back to that time that I really struggled. It wasn't until I got into high school that I actually made myself get involved in physical education.
Yeah.
And subsequently, my grades went up, and I think I graduated with a 3.4 and went on to college. But again, there is a research that proves being active does sound body, sound mind, and that's what helps you in getting through school and staying healthy.
What would you say to, as we come to a close here, what would you say to maybe a student that's in middle school or high school and is thinking about becoming active like that?
Sometimes being active doesn't necessarily mean joining a competitive team. Maybe it's just going outside and pushing around your neighborhood. But if there's ever a time to have a disability, this is the time, because there are so many organizations nationwide. And if you're not sure where to find them, just contact me at NCHPAD.org. You can find a lot of the resources there. There's different types of organizations and activities to get involved in, from skiing to hockey to.
I would love to see a sled team. Come here in Birmingham. Birmingham's not really known for hockey.
Exactly.
And I do understand that Lakeshore has a few sleds, but I've never seen them down at the Pelham Ice Rink.
We would go to Pelham Rec Center, and there are times over the years we would hold a camp, and part of the activity was to do sled hockey, and we would go to the Pelham. I can't remember, I'm more affiliated with the NCHPAD side than the Lakeshore side, but I believe those activities will continue to come back.
Okay.
Just at the end of the day, it's about offering the opportunities, and there are some organizations that feature this. Involved. Night and Move has some locations where you can very much get involved in sled hockey.
I feel like it would be bigger up north, just as it is,
Yeah, in the Northeast, as well as out in Colorado. The National Mobility, the National Ability Center has resources where you can get involved in sled hockey as well, and skiing. So there's definitely opportunities for people around the nation.
I think this is the best place for these opportunities. And I don't have experience with the Colorado location, but everything that you guys are doing here I know you said there's no better time if you are going to have a disability to have it right now, but I would add to that, there's really no better place in the world, I think, than Birmingham for a lot of what you guys do.
Oh, no doubt about it. I've been here over 20 years, so I very much have enjoyed the work environment, the culture, and of course the athleticism, the athletic opportunities. So very, very beneficial for me.
If you guys haven't checked out Lakeshore, you need to come here. We're going to get a crew together in January. We're going to come root on these teams, these local teams, in basketball and rugby. We're going to do a broadcast with it, but it would be a great opportunity to come find out what Lakeshore is about. And at this point, we'll go ahead and end the broadcast, and we will see you guys on Saturday. Thank you, Mr. Lujano, again. I appreciate it, man.
You're welcome, Alex. Thank you. Thanks, Bart.